The greatest casualty of America's political divide is journalism. There are many examples of how politics has corrupted journalism, but two recent examples prove that it's not right or left or Democrat or Republican. It's all of the above, and it's dangerous and obscene. Let's start with a recent New York Post cover article that immigrant children being housed in a shelter in California are receiving a free copy of Vice President Kamala Harris's children's book, Superheroes Are Everywhere, as part of a welcome kit to America. Now, that's a great New York Post story and a potential problem for the vice president because she would profit from sales of the book. Republicans were quick to jump on the story and ridicule the vice president. North Carolina Republican Congressman Madison Cawthorn tweeted out, "So the vice president can send her book to the southern border, but she can't send herself. You can't make this stuff up." Well, actually, you can make this stuff up because the New York Post story was made up. Laura Italiano, the reporter who wrote the story, resigned from the Post and tweeted, "The Kamala Harris story, the story I was ordered to write and which I failed to push back hard enough against, was my breaking point." So the reporter resigned, but as far as we know, no one else was disciplined for that story, which was absolutely fabricated. The photograph on the Post cover was the only thing that was accurate. Yes, there was a Kamala Harris children's book on a table at a shelter for immigrant children in Long Beach, California, but it was donated by someone from the community. There was only one copy. There wasn't thousands of them, and it certainly wasn't given to every child as part of a welcome kit. After getting caught, the New York Times deleted all social media posts that contained the story, and they rewrote the story online, but embarrassingly, no retraction, and as far as we know, again, no one disciplined. The tabloid New York newspaper had just built up some credibility with an investigative cover story they had on Joe Biden's son Hunter's business dealings with the Ukraine and China. It was a story that was banned from social media, but the FBI later confirmed it was true. All that credibility has been lost in what reeks of a politically motivated fabrication. And then there's this.
The FBI warned Rudy Giuliani that Russian spies were targeting him to help spread disinformation and discredit Joe Biden leading up to the 2020 election. That's according to a source who tells NBC News that Rudy Giuliani received the so-called defensive briefing in 2019 while he was trying to dig up dirt on the Biden family in Ukraine.
Wow, that sounds like a big story. The Washington Post and the New York Times broke the story, and that would be a big story if Trump's Justice Department warned Trump ally Rudy Giuliani while he was being investigated for trying to dig up dirt on Joe Biden, the Democratic rival, to help Donald Trump win the presidency. Then it would be Russian collusion all over again. Only once again, it wasn't true. NBC, the Washington Post, and the New York Times all had to run retractions. It turns out there was a debriefing being prepared for Rudy Giuliani, but it was never given to him specifically because he was being investigated. The problem with this story, and many stories over the last few years, is right there in plain sight in the reporting.
That's according to a source who tells NBC News that Rudy Giuliani received the so-called defensive briefing in 2019.
According to one source, one anonymous source in the FBI. And I guarantee you that was the same source for the Washington Post and the New York Times story. And all those stories were retracted and corrected once they spoke to a second source. One anonymous source has been the root of all evil in the era of 24-hour cable news and the era of online news, when being first is more important than being right. I was both a street reporter and an investigative reporter during my 40-year career, and I would rarely use an anonymous source unless it could be verified by someone else or the source was impeccable. For instance, a police chief telling you about a murder investigation, but he did not want his name used. The problem in politics is that information from anonymous sources can be used as a weapon.
Russia secretly offered Afghan militants bounties to kill U.S. troops. This is sort of stunning.
Yes, that would be stunning if it were true. But NBC News recently followed up on that story, and military intelligence in the Biden administration have not found any evidence that the story was true or is true now. It was leaked to the media as true during the thick of the presidential campaign, and Democrats in the media, on the campaign trail, and on the debate stage ran with it as fact.
To say nothing of putting bounties on American troops.
It's unbelievable, Joy.
Yeah.
I mean, he has still yet to say anything.
He's still suggesting that the reporting about the fact that there were these bounties offered is fake.
Not only does the president know that Russia was paying for American soldiers' deaths, paying rewards for Americans dead, the president knows it. He's been told.
Not only has he failed to sanction or impose any kind of consequences on Russia for this egregious violation of international law.
Donald Trump had talked at least 6 times to Vladimir Putin and never brought up the subject. Joe Biden would never do that.
Again, leaked information is a potential weapon and should be treated as such in newsrooms. Bias should not play into news decisions, but these days bias is embraced in newsrooms as they play to a particular political demographic for ratings and revenue. There should be no right and left in reporting, just right and wrong. We are in a dangerous time when journalists willingly give up objectivity for profit and politics. Journalism, real journalism, has always been used as a way of holding the powerful accountable and giving a voice to the powerless, no matter the political party. And it was done with one simple and powerful tool: the truth. No matter your political bias, that's all we should be demanding from every news source. I'm Larry Menti. We'll talk again soon.